Hey guys, hello once again. Got a slightly different setup going now. Thought I'd just do a video. It's been 10 days, something like that. Anyway, that was me playing Solar by Miles Davis. I tend to always do this tune, like a new version of it or just another iteration or something. Every time I have another guitar, like I'll do, here's another take on it or whatever. So not really a different setup, just a different arrangement of things, but I definitely bought another light, a better softbox light, so maybe improve things a little bit for all of you that are whiny babies that have to have pristine video quality. I'm kidding. But I thought I would actually go over some jazz line stuff today. So just some stuff I was writing down, thinking about. Also, I might do a little drum and guitar stuff at the same time, or just kind of demonstrate kind of some of the rhythmic philosophy behind some of constructing some of this stuff. Like this, right? Like we got 1, 2, 3 kind of deal, So like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, It's kind of important to be able to have those kind of feel-based rhythms under your fingers or in your head or something. Maybe even if you're a wind player, just being able to flip the different keys on the sax or something, like with that same kind of, maybe at some time I'll go over like my philosophy and techniques for jazz finger drumming if anybody's interested. Thus far, people aren't really super interested in this instrument as much as that one. So, we'll see how that goes. But I still think that maybe this is something to think about, even if it's just hitting rhythms on the guitar or your leg or something, or just anything, household, kitchen, cooking utensils or whatever, But anyway, and if you wonder what I'm looking at, I have a big monitor right there, so it's very distracting. Like doing little snare fills or something, It was kind of interesting thing. So, maybe this is a good way to practice jazz lines, is to actually, use your foot. If you just play with, standard with a pick or with your fingers or something, you're not doing tapping. You could, just use your foot on 2 and 4 or a metronome. But the problem with using a metronome is it's still not internalized. You're still not feeling the time. You're not making the connections, burning all the gray matter yourself. You're reliant on another thing. So it's like the same as like using all backing tracks to do shows or something, like you're still reliant on this other thing. A lot of times I think maybe some people that play with backing tracks all the time then try to play with other people and it doesn't work. It's because they haven't trained themselves to listen to the other people, to actually creatively respond to them. And I'm not knocking that. I'm just saying that if you're trying to be a creative improviser or play jazz music, you kind of need to have that on lockdown. You've got to have your shit together, and be able to internalize that beat, kind of be able to jump off of it, jump back onto it. Let's try this. Got my little cheat sheet here. All right, so something that I wrote in here was about tessitura. Okay, tessitura. So roughly, it just means the range upon which people sing in, or the piece is written in. Here's the tessitura of the oboe. Here's the tessitura of that singer, of the bass guitar, or whatever. Now with the guitar, obviously, you know, there's the tessitura of the guitar, the natural tessitura of the guitar, but we also can think of it in terms of like how far out are we going to go while we're playing on this tune, you know. So maybe you know, you want to restrict your tessitura or your approach on something to like one or two positions, like forcibly make yourself stick just in this range or of the neck or something, or like these 4 strings or these 3 strings. I've even seen like, you know, Pat Metheny will be playing on a lot of tunes and like only using the top 2 strings. You know, you check it out for yourself. Like, we'll just be using the top 2 strings a lot on a lot of even changes playing. And I find myself of doing the same thing, but it was maybe for a different reason. It's because I'm trying to keep the chords off of my left hand from being stopped. So I'll use the position, you know, horizontally on the neck. Obviously that's not a limiting factor what I just played, but let me give an example. So let's say we're playing the same tune. So a lot of times, like you see, that kind of gives it more of kind of a quality of being like you're holding back a little bit, but because you're holding back, you're looking for different patterns that maybe you haven't even tried or thought about before. You know. Similarly, a lot of times I like to play underneath my left hand. Yeah. And there's a lot of different reasons for that. Like, so, you know, I can't really comfortably reach my hand up here and play all the time. So you see a lot of different, like, traditional players playing all this stuff, and it's like in these positions. Well, you know, I'm just going to move it from these strings in this position to these strings in this position. And another benefit there, it keeps my chords unmolested over here, but also gives it like a thicker, maybe darker sound because of the winding, the mass of the string. And of course, I got full access to the upper range from there too. So, and then also, you can kind of like land on interesting chord tones that are embedded within the chorus to give you weird substitutions. occasionally I'll land on a really, what I consider to be a really cool jazz note, which usually means something that's related to an altered dominant or like a sharp 4, sharp 11 within the context of a chord that sometimes, you know, like that, you know, like we're coming off of, you know. So like that B has nothing to do with this F major 9. But then sometimes, you know, I'm like, oh, that's kind of an interesting substitution. So like, and then that goes into the memory bank. Oh yeah, you can do that Walt Disney run, you know, that it's like a harp glissandi. And then that in turn will influence the maybe the way I hear the harmony on this tune. And then it sort of slowly shifts into a different piece than it was when I started, because all of these things are accumulating, you see, and the tonality's getting changed in increments, you know. And I think maybe the last thing I'll leave you with is just another thing I've heard tons of players talk about, and that's, you know, and I want to do a whole other video on tone production on the electric guitar, you know, like you classical players or classical pianists or any classical players tend to focus on, or wind players, because it's kind of a lost thing on the guitar. A lot of times people are just like smacking and snapping the shit out of those strings, you know, and that's the way you want to play cool, but, you know, I mean, you can imagine, you know, seeing like some beginner piano students or whatever, you know, and the way, I mean, they sit down and they're like hitting everything super hard, you know, because they don't have any control. And you know, I'm not saying, again, electric guitar is a different beast and stylistically and things like that, but it's just something to think about. You know, like the way you're hitting the string. I'll go to the bridge pickup. Like that, having control versus, you know, like people are really beating the shit out of the strings, and all it really does is just cause a sharp increase in the attack of the string, and then it, you know, levels back out, but it's not needed, and then you have no headroom. You got no additional space that you can dig in a little more and have dynamics. It's just like, here is the level that I'm playing at. Everything is at that volume. Anyway, I don't mean that for that to sound like a tirade. If people want to play like that, that's cool. You probably have more of a following than me. But I do want to say, though, I've heard a lot of players, getting back to my original point, I've heard a lot of players talk about dynamics. And that doesn't mean, ooh, I'm going to get real quiet. Get quiet. Look how quiet I'm getting. Now I'm really loud, you know, I don't mean that necessarily. That is part of it. But what I mean is like dynamics within the line itself. So instead of like, you know, for every note, you know, maybe some notes are softer, some are louder. It's kind of just, you're leaving it to the wind. Yeah, so some notes are a little softer, some are a little louder, and it's like you're not trying super hard to make them all uniform. And if you're using, I mean, I could argue if you're pushing your amp to the point of breakup anyway, you're getting compression. If you've got your guitar set up pretty good so that it's even, pickup, output, angle, action, you're getting a sort of compression, balancing. If you have a good technique to begin with, you're getting a sort of compression. If you use a compressor, you are getting compression. And if you're using any kind of little overdrive, like a lot of people would use a tube amp, even jazz box players, okay, will use a tube amp and then like have like a tube screamer or like something and dial the distortion almost all the way off and just kind of use it as a compressor pedal to just kind of barely edge that amp closer to the point of breakup, but not quite, so that you get a nice singing, sustained type of a sound versus just totally clean, which is more plinky. It's not really what you would consider to be a modern jazz type of a tone. You want like, it's got to be clean with so that you hear all the definition and all the beauty of the individual harmony and the chords, but it also needs a lead quality that's sustaining and almost sounds like a distortion, like a light overdrive. So, and that's, again, my interpretation of things. Different guitars and amps and things like that sort of lended themselves to do this kind of thing naturally versus others. And then some players get around it because of however they are, however they play. But totally other sidetrack thing. I just thought I would mention that. Anyway, I guess that's kind of enough for this little episode. Just wanted to get back to doing some of these talky videos where I play some jazz stuff, and I'll go ahead and say as a last thing, this is the last thing. The whole format of me doing these, which kind of became semi-popular in a minor way, I wasn't even going to do this kind of a video, but then I saw like Jimmy Bruno doing those like intimate discussion type videos, and I was like, you know what? This is a good idea. Like, I could do this. This would make sense. I think people would be interested in that. But anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this little talk and demonstration of things. And don't forget to like and subscribe. And of course, catch me on the next video. And please go back and see some of the videos that you may have missed in the last number of days, weeks, or months.